Welcome to this video session, students of Paul. I am going to just switch my microphone so that I can hear myself. There we are. Welcome to this session on ancient letters and examples of ancient letters. We're starting off very early on in this class by talking about ancient letters so that we can situate Paul's letters properly within their first century context. So context and meaning of ancient letters. Knowing something about context really does change the meaning of something. And again, I know that this is a point that I'm hammering away at in this class, but just give you some examples. I love this course. Context number one. Your aunt says this at the 9th hole on the St. Lambert Golf Club on a sunny Saturday. I love this course. Context number two. Your dad says this during the lime mousse palate cleanser of a 7-course meal at a posh restaurant in Old Montreal. Quite a different meaning, exact same words. Context number three, your classmate types this in the chat box during a scintillating Zoom session while studying the Apostle Paul. Again, a third, completely different meaning of the same words. I love this course. If that can happen to us now in the 21st century with these words, I love this course, it can certainly happen with with ancient texts. And that's why it's important to know something about contexts as much as we can. Often we don't know everything about a context, and often we can't know everything. But even just trying to know something about contexts helps us. So epistles and letters in antiquity. The word epistle simply means letter in the first century. So sometimes you'll hear Paul's epistles. That just means Paul's letters. So what is an epistle? An epistle is a letter written from one person or group of people to another, which is physically conveyed from a sender to a recipient. So there's no electronic communication in the first century. There was not much of a postal service, and so you sent something, and it was often delivered by somebody. It was often also delivered orally to that person or to the group of people. Not everyone could read. In fact, most people could not read. So formally, a letter is a piece of writing that is overtly addressed from a sender or senders to recipients by the use at the beginning and the end of one of a limited number of conventional formula of salutation. We still do that. When you write a letter, you probably write dear so-and-so or dear madam, dear sir, to whom it may concern. These are formula that we are used to in writing our letters. Same was true in the first century. There were certain formulas which specify both parties to the transaction. Dear landlord or dear tenant might be another form of letter. And then at the very end, we will say sincerely, if we don't know the person particularly well, all best. We might say thanks a lot, or see you next time if it's somebody less formal. So here's an example of an ancient letter. Aurelius Dias to Aurelius Horion, my sweetest father. Now notice how it starts. Aurelius Dias to Aurelius Horion. It doesn't say dear father. It says Aurelius Dias to Aurelius Horion, my sweetest father. Many greetings. I say a prayer to the gods of this region every day for you. Do not be worried about our studies, Father. This is a good one for this class. We are working hard and getting plenty of sleep so that everything will go well with us. It's interesting, huh? 2,000 years ago. Greet my mother Timea and my sisters Trephorus and Phalus. Also greet my brother Patermalthus and my sister Thermalthus. Greet also my brother Heracles and my brother Coluccius. And greet my father Melanus and my mother Timpasurus and her son. This is kind of interesting, isn't it? Greetings to all of you from Gaia and from my father Horion and Thermuthus. I pray that you enjoy good health, Father. Okay. So where did this letter come from? A lot of these letters come from, basically they come from garbage dumps in ancient Alexandria, Egypt. Now, from the Oxyrhynchus papyri. Papyra is a form of ancient paper, papyrus, ancient form of paper. Why were they found in these garbage dumps? Because the climate is so dry that ancient letters survived, whereas in other places they were being written. So they were being written in ancient, Greece, but they didn't survive because the climate wasn't so dry. So they survived here because they were dry. So this was a letter found there. Now, before anything else, what I'd like you to do is to stop the video And to do the following 3 questions, and just take a note for yourself of the following 3 questions, and then you can come to, when we come together as a group, we can discuss this together. So do take a look at these questions, which are about the preceding letter. So the questions that you have here are about this letter. And I'd like you to answer these 3 questions as best you can, and come ready to talk about them when we meet together. And I'll see you next slide. All right, so I'm glad to have you back, and let's read another ancient letter taken as well from the Oxyrhynchus papyrus. This is number 119. Theon to his father Theon, greeting. So again, notice, dear father, and what does father mean in light of the previous letter? Theon to his father Theon, greeting. It was a fine thing of you not to take me with you to the city. If you won't take me with you to Alexandria, I won't write you a letter or speak to you or say goodbye to you. And if you go to Alexandria, I won't take your hand nor ever greet you again. This is interesting. This is what will happen if you don't take me, if you won't take me. Mother said to Archelaus, it quite upsets him to be left behind. It was good of you to send me presents on the 12th, the day you sailed. Send me a lyre, I implore you. If you don't, I won't eat, I won't drink. There now. So this is quite a different letter from the previous one. But again, it's a 1st century letter, and it follows some of those ancient patterns. So do take a look at how it's set up. And let's move on to the next letter. By the way, at any time, you can stop and you can simply read these letters again for yourself. So these are good ancient examples. Why are we looking at these? We look at these before we look at Paul's letters to see how they are the same as other ancient 1st century letters and how they're different. This is a frieze, a statue of a Roman wedding. And here's another Oxyrhynchus papyrus, number 111. Heraeus requests your company at dinner in celebration of the marriage of her children at her house tomorrow, the 5th, at 9 o'clock. Now, again, I'd ask you, what's different about this letter? There's something that's fairly different immediately about this letter. Well, several things that are quite different. So pay attention to those. Let's move on to the next one. Hilarion to Alice, his sister, heartiest greetings, and to my dear Berus and Apollinarion, know that we are still even now in Alexandria. Now remember, Alexandria is the largest city on the coast of the Mediterranean in what is in Egypt. So these letters were found not far from Alexandria. Know that we are still even now in Alexandria. Do not worry if when all the others return, I remain in Alexandria. I beg and beseech of you to take care of the little child, and as soon as we receive wages, I will send them to you. If, good luck to you, you bear offspring, if it is a male, let it live. If it is a female, expose it. That means infanticide. That means let the child die. You told Aphrodisias, do not forget me. How can I forget you? I beg you, therefore, not to worry. The 29th year of Caesar, Paulvideo 23. So again, lots going on here. Sister, brother, what happens to the child? Who is this Hilarion in relationship to Alice? And notice what it says about infanticide. So I'd like you now then to stop it again and to be ready to discuss these questions when we meet. What is the first word in all of these ancient letters? Where does the word greeting or greetings happen in the structure of all of these ancient letters? And what are some of the family dynamics presumed by these ancient letters, by the sender, by the recipient, and by what is being said? So there, this is an example of some ancient letters from the 1st century, or roundabouts the 1st century, from roughly the same area, not exactly, but roughly the same area as Paul would have been writing to it sometimes, the other side of the Mediterranean, and roughly the same time, and roughly the same culture. So take a look at these and answer some of these questions, and I'm looking forward to talking about them together. Thank you, and see you next time.